Here we are again.
Good to be back.
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian, that you're back here. Welcome everyone to another talk, MutMomente. As you hear, we are talking this time in English because it's his main language, not mine, but he will talk more than I do, so for me it's fine. He asked me to make the interview in English. So thank you so much, Sebastian, for your time, that you're here for the second time. We already had a talk with you, and the topic is again panic attack, a very important topic from my opinion. And Sebastian, for those who don't know Sebastian, he's an osteopath, he's a psychologist and yoga teacher, and he created a known technique, Bartu method. He will talk about that later more. And he combines different kind of techniques in this very beautiful technique, Bartu method. And so for the first question, I would love to ask you, Sebastian, when people come to you and they have panic attacks or they have anxiety, how do you treat them? What do you do with the people, with the clients in such a situation?
So there's such a different approach to anxiety and panic attacks. And for me, the first milestone, the first objective is that they have a very realistic, precise understanding of what panic attack means in the body on a neurological level, on a cognitive level, that they first can understand that there's nothing that's wrong with them, that there is that guilt that's removed, that they understand that the sense of anxiety and panic is super important, super intelligent system that the body has put in place. And the first objective is that they don't feel that they need to fight against their body, that it's not a war, that they have a mental health condition, that they have a hormonal imbalance, that they have a limbic hijack issue, whatever the words were used to describe their diagnosis, if they have received a diagnosis, that they first feel that the body has these sensations of anxiety and panic because it's life-saving. It's related to a deep body's response to a perceived threat. And to know there's nothing wrong with them. From then we can then explain first the theoretical part. I explain because I want them to also take responsibility. It's important that there's an identity change. With most chronic pain and most people I work with, there's only sustainable results when there's a true identity change. And that comes from a position of being a victim of the diagnosis, of the car accident, of the trauma, of the injustice, whatever it was that might be related to the symptoms we have today. But there's a sense of, I have an option to see the problem and either be bitter about it or to see the opportunity for growth, the opportunity for personal development, the opportunity for some sort of learning. And this is more of a really philosophical, spiritual approach. If I can get them on board to realize that maybe we came on this planet to experience difficult times, then already we're with the right mindset. So that would be the first step, explaining that your mental resilience is something which you can train like a muscle. And when you face whatever issues it might be, whether it's mental health or shoulder pain or back pain, the invitation is to see this as an exploration to get to know yourself better, to become an expert in this area of problem. If you have a knee pain, you're going to become a knee pain expert. You're going to learn about it. You're going to be able to help yourself and eventually also have more empathy and help others. So it's the right mindset, getting out of that victim status that, I have these panic attacks because possibly something that happened to me 20 years ago, and because of this event, because of this person, because of these circumstances, I am now the victim of that. If I feel some of that energy, I need to address that first. I need to really help them take the decision that the way I feel is my responsibility, and the thoughts that come into my head are not necessarily my identity. These are the building blocks. Now we can go into each of these more in depth, but to stay more on the whole structure is first that clear understanding. And then from there, I normally explain a little bit on the hormonal level that fundamentally, when your body perceives a threat, whether it's a stereotypical image of a wild animal coming to you, like a hurricane, something dangerous coming, there's an automatic response in the nervous system where blood no longer gets sent to your legs and arms, no longer gets sent to your core, but gets sent to your arms and legs, preparing you to move, to run, to defend yourself. Mm-hmm. And this is a very intelligent mechanism. It's called a sympathetic response, right? And the hormones get kicked out, you get adrenaline, you get cortisol that's produced, and everything is preparing you for intense activation, intense movement. But the problem at the same time, the brain is so intelligent, it creates a tunnel vision. So that when you have, for example, a lion in front of you, you physically cannot pay attention to all the things around, because that's not going to help you. You need to focus on the problem, which is the lion, and you observe, or if it's a snake that's moving, you have the ability to track a moving, dangerous animal very specifically, because the brain puts you in that mode. It's like panic mode, which is very intelligent. The problem is that when we have a challenge that might be remembering an ex-relationship, remembering a traumatic experience at work, remembering something difficult from the past, the brain cannot distinguish between a real line in front of us or remembering a car accident, remembering a sense of injustice from the past. And the same mechanism gets put in place of tunnel vision. And what are we focusing on? The problem. And in these moments, if we are not able to change the way your brain works, you're in that panic mode, meaning all you see is the problem. And you don't actually see the resources that you might have in yourself to address the problem differently. So what that means on a physiological level is that when you are in this panic mode, you have what's called the amygdala hijack, the amygdala response. These are the parts of the brain that get active whenever we have a sense of emotional uncertainty, fear, panic, threat. Very intelligent system, changes blood flow, changes hormones, everything is ready to defend yourself, or to fight, or to freeze. And this is when blood gets sent to these very specific almond-like structures in the brain, and they're right in the middle of the brain, on both sides in the middle, between the ears. As long as blood is being sent there, you have that panic mode. However, when you focus on the front, what would be called the third eye, you shift the brain functions, and you are able to reduce the amount of blood that's being sent to your amygdala. Now it gets sent to your frontal lobe, where you have the ability to think rationally, where you have the ability to make decisions, where you have the ability to tap into your memory to take resources, where you can also zoom out and see your situation from above, which generally when we are in a panic mode we cannot do. Everything is overwhelming. But more importantly, the objective of changing blood flow is a really nice way to explain what a panic attack is. A panic attack is when the body automatically sends blood to this amygdala, to this little two glands, and because of that blood flow, the body responds in these automatic reactions, sensations, hormonal release, and we feel a certain way. But when you change your breathing pattern, when you change your focus point, these are the fastest ways to change these hormonal realities, and we can immediately start to send blood to the front of your brain, which then allows you to think differently.
Just a question, you say to focus on the third eye. For those people who now don't know, how do I do that? What can I do exactly to focus on the third eye? You think about something or about someone. What exactly do you mean with that?
So that's a great question. It sounds very esoterical when we talk about the third eye like this. It's not a coincidence that there's so many representations of gods, and as the Buddha himself, we talk about this chakra point, this part of the body that's very important, because if you focus on part of your body, more blood flows there. If I think of my right thumb, there's a literally vasodilation. That means the arteries are opening up. My body is deciding to send more blood here. That's how responsive the body is. So if we think about the point between your eyebrows, you are actually activating your frontal cortex more, and more blood is flowing there. But to answer your question more specifically, this was the imagery that I wanted to give the person, so that they realize that they're not a victim of the circumstances, but they are, if anything, a victim of what their body is deciding to react according to the circumstances. So we can't change what happens to us, we can change how we respond to it. And how we respond to it would be, okay, I'm gonna now immediately do a special breathing technique. Because I know that when I change my breathing pattern, that rewires my brain and removes me from the panic mode. Or I am going to switch my focus on something which allows me to experience gratitude. Because fundamentally, you cannot experience anxiety and at the same time gratitude. It's either one or the other. And for them to understand that it's the focus that they are consciously or unconsciously choosing that's going to determine how much anxiety they have. Any anxiety starts off with an internal dialogue. There's first an internal moment of chaos, of disorganization in the psyche, and the consequence is the sensations of anxiety. Anxiety is an internal dialogue, lack of order. And I'll give you a nice example, because there's always so much intelligence in everything that the body does, and sometimes we tend to criticize and pathologize a response of the body, but it's actually by default very, very intelligent. For example, if I'm going to a friend's birthday party on a Sunday, and on a Saturday I want to buy them the special gift that they're not expecting, and I really want to get there. And I'm in the train, and I'm on the train, it's 5:30, and the shop's closed at 6:30. I want to get there as fast as I can, and I've just timed it right. Suddenly the train breaks down. Now, one version of me, I'm going to act out someone who is possibly anxious. What would that person do internally? So imagine I'm now in an anxious mode. The train stops. I start thinking, okay, I have an hour to get to the shop before it closes. I can now jump out of the train. I can order an Uber, and then I can take an Uber to the next tram, but then that tram I have to calculate to get there, and then I can run there. But then when I run there, I might get there really sweaty, and I might bump into someone at work, and I might feel anxious because I'm nervous. Why am I sweating? Why am I running around panicking buying this present? So that doesn't sound like a good idea. What if I were to now call my friend who lives down the road and who can maybe bring me to the tram stop? But that would be anxiety because I don't feel comfortable calling them spontaneously. So the brain starts creating all of these different things because before the train stopped, there was a solution from A to B. I am buying a present, I'm getting there, and everything was going smoothly. Suddenly something disrupted this linear journey. And the people who are more mental resilient can decide very fast and say, for example, another version of me that's more, let's say, less anxious would say, okay, let me decide. I have 1 hour to get a gift. What's feasible? What's reasonable? Maybe I'm just going to write a text to my friend and say, hey, you know what? I didn't organize my time good enough. I'm not going to be able to get this gift with you. However, I'll give it to you by Tuesday, and then relax in the train. And it's in these moments where we suddenly get caught up with trying to reorganize life and making it more complicated than what it is. And someone with an anxious pattern will suddenly run 25 options in their head and be anxious because they haven't found one that's good enough. And someone else who has more of a calming, relaxed response would simply accept that maybe I won't make it to the shop in time, and I will therefore act accordingly to make that damage control the less problematic. So inform everyone that I need to inform, relax, not go into crazy mode, not run across town to get this gift, maybe get a gift tomorrow morning, you know? And so it's a little bit that fundamental response that helps us if we breathe. In that moment in the train, if we just first, when a problem comes our way, when stress comes our way, the invitation is, can I take this as an invitation to breathe, regardless of what it is? And from there, we are already changing the blood flow in the brain. We are changing the vision, the tunnel vision just, and then you have more ability to think solution-orientated and not get into panic mode.
Very nice. It's so easily said in that moment, when you are in this panic moment that someone tells you now you need to focus on your breathing. And I had also moments when I had my panic attacks that I could not concentrate on the breathing in that moment, because you increase your breathing, you're hyperventilating, and but actually this is something what everybody can do every day to have a better resilience, to breathe every morning, to make pranayama, to have a daily practice of breathing, that this nervous system is not increasing more and more. And this is something I really would tell everyone to do every day. So I practice this also every morning, and it helps me to really come into a better mood, into a more calm mood for the day, actually.
Absolutely.
When you're not in a panic attack, but also for resilience.
And it's kind of like you compare it to a tennis player. First step is just being able to hit the ball well. Then it's to hit it with an opponent. Then it's to hit it with an opponent who really wants to win. Then it's to play in front of other people. Then there's the cameras. If we bring the stress level higher and higher, but it starts off with the first objective, to hit the ball. Mm-hmm. So if we first think of, let's develop our ability to breathe without the stress. Mm-hmm. That's what you do in the morning when you wake up, you do your breathing. And when it comes to breathing, it's also very important to acknowledge that it's not always enough just to breathe, because a lot of people are doing superficial breathing. Yeah. They're doing this, if I exaggerate, they're kind of contracting their throat muscles and they're pulling up, which then can create another stress response, because the body is getting pressure on your carotid artery, which is one of the highest concentrators of mechanoreceptors, which sends a signal of panic. Something is stopping my blood flow to my brain and my respiratory tract and the air, so the body gets in panic mode. Mm-hmm. And you see that sometimes in stressful places, like for example in Zurich, they have this I call it the Zurich way of talking, where they talk very fast and they have a short breath, and they have this like mode of just going very, very fast. And if you want to join in a conversation, you have to really join them at that rhythm. You cannot come and say, hey, you know what I was thinking? I was actually considering it. It doesn't work. You have to match them there.
We have also burn, and they go slower.
They definitely have less cortisol in their body.
Sebastian, thank you so much for sharing. You have a course coming up very soon at the Silent Power Retreat House, and you do more courses in the future also, where you teach teachers to work with people, to feel. Maybe you can tell a little bit to our people. What are you teaching the teachers, and what is the purpose of your course coming up very soon at Silent Power?
Wonderful. So thank you. You said teaching the teachers, so that's one certification I have for certifying trainers. Mm-hmm. I have a training that's open to everyone. That's for people who suffer from lack of energy, maybe specific parts of their body that have pain, recurring pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues. And the method I teach is called neurosomatic reprogramming. And I've combined osteopathy, psychology, martial arts, and yoga. And I've put this together with very safe protocols that I've been teaching for now over 20 years, that allows you to reprogram the parts of the brain that are sending signals of tension to your body, keeping you in a panic mode, preventing the proper blood flow, and creating lactic acid. And so once you start to let go of these muscle contractions in your body, which are contributing to illness, contributing to cortisol levels being high, keeping you in a state of unease, a state of stress, you can finally get deep neurological relaxation. And fundamentally, every physiological process in the body is optimized when you can relax more. That's one of the core messages of yoga. The reason why we do all these crazy circus moves is so that we can then lie on our back and finally send signals of relaxation to parts of our body that until now we've probably never done that. So the invitation is to, first we learn how to diagnose parts of the body, identify where we have muscle contractions, where there's lactic acid, where there's cortisol, where there's old neurological patterns of stress, maybe from a car accident, from a difficult relationship, from a difficult situation. And then we have ways to reprogram them using muscle contractions, using positioning, using towels, combining osteopathic and yoga principles, and then we start to rewire the nervous system to send signals of relaxation, to let go. And automatically, as the pressure around the arteries and veins release, more blood flow can flow into every part of the body. And that's basically the definition of sustainable health, the proper distribution of fluids, because we're 80% liquid.
Very nice. I had the chance to already take part of your session, and I'm looking so much forward for the teachings with Sebastian. So for all the people and the teachers and the yoga teachers and osteopaths, physiotherapists, it doesn't matter what kind of teacher you are, trainer you are, it's really, really interesting, your method, and thank you so much for sharing this with the world. I think the world needs more of your techniques, and looking so much forward to have you back here inside of our retreaters for your teachings. And for all those who are interested, we will put the informations in the downstairs in the comments,
in the link below.
And thank you so much, Sebastian, for sharing these words with us. And hopefully for me next time in German again. It's easier. And
well, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for the opportunity to spend this time with you and your community.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. And thank you for watching, and have a great day, and see you soon.